Okay, so I'm back, and Al and Stephanie, if you guys can let me know if you're ready, I'll go ahead and bring you on so your camera will be live. I just don't want to surprise you if you're not ready yet. Ready, how's my hair? What hair, Al? If you haven't seen Al yet, you'll get the joke in just a second. All right, there he is.
I thought we'd start with a little comedy.
Yeah, you did good on that. Give me just a second. There's been a couple of feedback issues, and I think it's because I'm not using earphones. I can't open this with anything, though. So now I need another 30 seconds to go and do this. I'll be right back. Any questions you have for Al or Stephanie, direct to them, and they'll answer them. Be back.
Okay. Always handy to have a pocket knife. That said, I lost my share trying to take a flight somewhere, and they find them at the airport, and you're always trying to, what? Oh, are those my knives? Where did that come from? Anyway, they're making a ton of money off our pocket knives.
How are we doing now?
We are doing great. I was going to type back to you. I hadn't realized that we were actually live. We're happy to be here, and it is I think it's a first for many of us. So Wyatt's Lawn Service, thank you. Yes, we're doing well. Stephanie is responsible for these things, seeing as she's our social media girl. We find it quite important today to have somebody who's dedicated in that area of social media. Everybody's connected one way or the other, and well, that's why we're here today. And once Brian gets back up, I guess we should wait for him. Otherwise, we'll carry on a conversation that he has no idea about. Bradley. There was a Brian earlier. What do I know? It is a mouthful of Copper Creek Cuts. We started Fence Armor back in 2009. That was the original moment we started to analyze the problem. I came across the problem, and we started doing some prototypes, and then started really selling in, let's say, 2015.
Oh, that's really awesome. Wyatt's comment.
Go ahead. What's it say?
It says, glad to hear it. I like how positive you guys are with your channel and commenting on the lawn care videos in the YouTube lawn care community. And I think you guys have yourself a great product. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that, Wyatt.
Wyatt's good people.
Yeah.
Definitely. I recognize his name and your videos.
Yes. And so I didn't, obviously I've been away trying to get my headphone situation straightened out, but I don't know how much you guys know about Fence Armor, but I know that almost every video you guys comment on, and that is because of Stephanie. Stephanie, raise your hand. Well, I mean, between Al and Stephanie, I'm sure you guys can guess which one is which, but
I'm not a trained.
You guys have to be the most active company in the lawn care community.
Yeah, Stephanie's doing a great job for us, and we're excited about it. And as I was saying earlier, I think it's incredibly important. Most lawn services and fence companies are small companies, and the vast majority of people find out about business acumen from YouTube and from social media. So it is nice to have a community-based scenario, especially when we consider how far people are apart. So we belong to the NAFCA, which is the North American Fence Contractors Association. We are part of the American Fence Association. We are part of the Canadian Fence Association. So since we're spread across the entire North America, we'll say, having these kinds of meetings and forums, even just through video chat and through social media, makes our community that much tighter and smaller, so we can actually talk to each other about relevant things in the business.
And making connections, like Shane just said, great product. I'll definitely recommend your product to all my customers. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, and I'm in the process of pulling the clip from, that kind of shows your product in a nutshell. But that is one thing that I think would be a great thing to talk about. If you can kind of give us advice. So everyone who doesn't know, Fence Armor is all about protecting fence posts. And for some people, that may be kind of a tough sell as the lawn care guy. I was talking to Al, and I told him that I felt like where I was, we've got a very rural mentality, very simplistic viewpoint of, wait, you want me to pay for something that you'd be damaging as the lawn care guy? Why don't you just not, hit my post, kind of a thing? But Al gave some really good points. So if you want to talk about that or segue into some of those products, and I'm going to pull up that link real quick too.
Yeah. I'll give the, as they say, the elevator speech, really, right? I mean, ultimately, Fence Armor is a product that protects the bottom of posts from, let's say, lawn care damage, whether that's a weed whacker, whether that's a deck on a mower, whether that's a shovel or a rake, whatever comes in contact with the base of a post. And it doesn't have to be a fence post. It could be a sign post. It could be a mailbox post. All of them are affected by damage. So, I always give the analogy, we buy insurance hoping that we never have to use it. And praying that we never have to use it, because if we're using our insurance, something bad has happened. Fence Armor protects posts from a guaranteed damage. Every time you come close to a post with a piece of lawn equipment, it will get damaged. So for the low cost of whatever it is, $5 or $10 a post, to protect them and make them look good for your customers is a very small piece of insurance, when you consider that every week you're going to go and beat that post and beat it again and beat it again. And, basically, I have a small little prop here. That's probably very common sight to many of you. And it's not that you hate posts. It's just one of those things where you can't help it. And the weed whackers aren't getting any less violent. Those string trim, the new Black Diamond from Echo is extraordinarily great at creating this kind of. In fact, if you watch any string trimmer video, you'll never see them up against a fence. Wonder why? So here on the other side, I guess you can't see it there, but
yeah, I just killed the video. Here, let me put it back to you.
But there you can see with Fence Armor how it's protecting the bottom of that post, so you don't have to worry about that. So, it's a real simple design. American galvanized steel. We don't make anything offshore. Everything is made right here in North America. And out of galv, then we powder coat it. So for this version, we make it look like cedar or redwood. And you can put one fastener here and you're good to go.
Just one screw is all you need.
Yeah. Now
that's good too, because I thought, a lot of times if you think about things for posts, you think you have to do it on like each side, and it's a real complicated or labor intensive install.
Absolutely. And when you look at it, there are some competitors out of plastic and other things. Usually it's only for a new post, and you've got to have all access to all four sides. But let's assume one side's a driveway or a garden bed. You don't need Fence Armor on all sides, so you could just put Fence Armor on the side you are damaging, and the other side doesn't need a piece. Or if you have a neighbor where his side of the fence is a different color, he could have his own, or you don't have to worry about your neighbor's side.
I never worry about my neighbor's side, especially if it's my neighbor's fence.
Well, and here you can see pretty quickly the design, right? So here we have a slot. So when the wood swells, you're able, the Fence Armor will expand to accommodate moisture or heat, even for vinyl fences. And if your post isn't exactly whatever size it is, then we can shrink into it. So for instance, on a play center, oftentimes they're canted at an angle. Well, you can put this one up and this one down, and now you've got the angle managed for that play set that's out in the middle of the yard. And the version I have here is our Patriotic series, which that's actually powder coated right in to the material. That's not coming off. There's quite a few reviews on that on YouTube already.
We had talked about one that you had mentioned. Saving Green did one, and I remember that he basically I think it was black diamond. It was black string trimmer line, whatever it was. And he went up against it, and there was black marks all on it. And he was like, "Oh man, look at that!" But then he ended up, and it was just basically the string trimmer line had kind of melted itself, and as soon as you smeared that away, there was nothing left. It was perfectly clean.
Yeah, this is the devil's line. It's it's pretty damn good, and you know what? It does run true. So when it spins, what's nice about it, I think, when it comes to lawn trimming around a fence, if you've got your line doing the dance, instead of, being right at the accuracy level that you're expecting it, your line is doing this, and that's why I think posts get damaged a little more than they should. It's because depending on the line and how they spin, you're starting to get that interaction. And when we do our testing, we test for 10 to 20 years of line damage. And basically the math is simple. We expect that the trimmer line will be against the fence armor for several seconds, and then we multiply that based on 52 weeks or 26 weeks of cutting, and then we calculate. So we're expecting that finish to be there for 10 or 20 years. But what's important, and what one reviewer said, and you'll have to see it on YouTube, it's quite funny, but he'd taken a file to it, he'd taken a jigsaw to it, he'd taken a hammer to it. Ultimately the fence armor was a bit scratched up for sure. But then he unscrewed it and he pulled it off the post, and he said, there's no damage on the post, and that's why it's here. So we don't damage the investment of that post. So it's effectively like a bumper. It's protecting that post and giving the life of your customer's property, another 10, 20 years, and it will look good. So if you wanted to, put on a black piece of fence armor, or a white piece of fence armor, or just a regular, galvanized piece of fence armor, it doesn't really matter. You can change that up throughout the season, just like you change up your flags in your front yard, depending on the holiday you might have. We're also introducing this very, very, for the first time, live viewers will see this. We should have a drum roll.
Wait, the drum roll is going to be dependent on how quickly I can pull it up. Do you want me to go to that image?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay.
This is our 16-inch high fence armor, which is designed really for mailbox posts. And you can customize your number, and it's actually embedded in the paint.
So the numbers aren't stickers?
No, they're not stickers. No assembly required and no batteries. So this will go on, and it just looks beautiful. And when you install fence armor, you install it about an inch and a half above the ground, because you're not trimming underneath there.
Oh, Mikey thinks it's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
I'm going to blow that up so people can see the picture of it a little bit bigger.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we already have pre-orders for it. It's an exciting piece. We'll be selling it with the property number on it, and it'll be on both sides. And we'll be selling it just with the flag, without the property number. And we're suggesting it's for mailbox post because it's so high. But ultimately, you can use it on any post. And we'll be having it, we have 113 varieties of fence armor. And you wonder why. The reason why is there's so many posts. And as you guys know, when we go to a lumber store and you ask for a 4x4, you're most likely getting a 3.5 by 3.5. Same thing with a 6x6. But if you're a fencer and you go to a lumber yard where you're getting rough hewn lumber, a 4x4 is really 4x4 dimensionally. So with all these different varieties, that's why we have so many sizes. So for the lineup we have for the Patriotic series in the 16-inch high, those will be available in 3.5 by 3.5, 4 by 4, 5 by 5, 5.5 by 5.5, and 6 by 6. So
oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No.
I was going to say, I like that product more because, like I said, I kind of set myself up with a mentality going into it that, oh, nobody's going to buy this for me because, you know, it's to protect against damage that I'm causing. But this is something, well, I'm pointing to it, but, you know, you can't see it. This is something that's, you know, got aesthetic value and, you know, people could really get excited about. And it's not, you aren't pitching it from the angle of, let's protect against something I might cause. This is, you know what? I think you're really going to like this. This is going to make your neighborhood all envious and, you know, that kind of a thing.
Well, I think it's cool. And you know, to your point earlier, I don't think there's any property that a landscaper should not at least let the customer know that there's an option to protect their posts. Because what have you got to lose? I mean, in the end, if you look at the regular Galv product like this, right? And if I just speak about the design a little bit, we use galvanized steel because galvanized steel is really the strongest material to use on a condition like a bumper. Aluminum is too soft. And those of you who have ornamental fences will notice how quickly you burn through an ornamental fence. The radius on the corner here allows your...
Hey, Al, is that a picture of the galvanized one? Did I pull that right? Okay.
Exactly. So when the trim line goes across that radius, it flips over so it doesn't break your trim line and avoids the surface of the fence armor. So you're getting a nice clean rotation. So when you are actually trimming the property, you're trimming it that much faster because you don't have to slow down and throttle back on your trimmer trying to avoid the post. You just full blast, go down and fly right by those posts that you used to have to worry about. And again, because they expand and contract through the side here, you don't have to worry about swelling. And the other thing is when you go in and talk to a property owner, you can say, you know what, look what the last landscaper did to your property. Just take a picture of the post and go up to the front door and say, hey, we use fence armor. You know, it costs you $5 a post or whatever you want to charge, or even put it in for free while you do the work. And then when you're done, or if they decide not to use you next year, take them off. They're portable. And the nice thing too, because they're so easy to come on and off, you can, if they want to paint the fence or stain the fence, they can pull them all off, stain them or paint them, and then put them back on. And they're not covered in whatever stain that was there. So it's a real easy sell, because when you think about it, if the customer says, you know, no thanks, I don't want to spend the $5, $10 a post, and then he comes to you and says, what are you doing this to my post? You've given him the option. You said right at the beginning, Mr. Customer, there's a fence armor is your solution. If they say no to that, that means they don't care that you're damaging their fence, which means really you're off the hook. So there is something that will save their posts and that looks good. If they decide not to, then it's not on you, it's on them. And even for privacy fences, we have the demi version, which is a shallow depth. So privacy fence has a real low rail, and you can't get a full one in. So we have this demi, and that demi can also be used for pickets, or up here high on the picket. So we've got we believe all the different versions covered, including the ornamental, which is just a clip-on version. So on an ornamental fence, we don't want you drilling into the steel or the aluminum. So if you look here at the tabs, there's a dimple on one side and a hole on the other. And then they interact with each other and they clip right in. And now you've protected the bottom of that post. Real simple install. And a great way to protect an aluminum fence from getting shot up.
I think, you know, after we talked, you know, and all the planning, I was thinking about it a little bit more too. And I think one thing that can kind of help if there's any, lawn care or landscapers who are still having trouble with the idea of pitching it. Maybe people don't mind wood getting torn up because it is so durable. But you brought up a great point about vinyl fences, which reminded me that there was an HOA who had just it's a neighborhood right down the road that had just replaced their entire community fence from old sagging wood. I think it's maybe 10 years old or something. It didn't look good, but a brand new vinyl. And vinyl is something that nobody is going to say is as durable as wood. And so, if you're having trouble getting behind the idea of approaching your wooden fence people, anybody who's vinyl, this would be a much easier add-on to the services you have, because it's a lot easier to convey how fragile it can be and how this is a really cheap investment, when vinyl is like, I can't remember. I wanted to say we did a quote for our own thing recently, and it was something crazy like between $8 and $10 a foot, a linear foot for vinyl. And of course, this is Northeast Florida, so I don't know what it is otherwise. But thousands of dollars to replace an entire fence line. So that could be a scenario where it's much easier, like I said, to add this on to your existing services.
Well, I think, to your point, I'll cover the vinyl, but just to your point on wood. If you have invested $13,500 or $10,000 on a fence, whether that's pine or whether it's spruce or whether it's cedar, there's two parts of that. One is the aesthetics. Do you want your brand new fence that you just stained torn up every time you go and trim the lawn? It looks ugly. What was a white picket fence is now a white picket fence with a brown line along the bottom. The next thing is, once that wood has been wounded, you now have whatever, dog urine, you have water, you have all that moisture that goes into the wood at the wound and travels down. Some people have concrete. It'll get to the concrete, and if it freezes down there, it cracks the concrete. Then once the concrete cracks, then you get moisture coming up. And basically wood's a straw. So it doesn't break where the wound is. It breaks down deeper in the ground where it stays wet and happy with moisture and starts to rot. And that's why you need to protect the wood. On the vinyl side of things, it's microns thin. I have a vinyl post somewhere, don't I? Back there?
I don't. I think you might.
Anyway, it's very, very thin, the UV protection. And down in Florida, white vinyl fences, and certainly I think that's our biggest seller, is 5x5 fence armor for white fences. Once that weed whacker gets through that UV protection, which is in the first couple of cuts, now you start to see the vinyl turns into powder. And that's where it discolors, and it starts to dissolve based on the sun. And in northern climates, try to hit a vinyl fence with a shovel when it's below zero. Watch how quickly it just goes whoop, cracks right up to the top. In Indianapolis, we did a project with Indy's Finest Fence, where the customer asked him 3.5 miles of fence, but I don't know, $26,000 worth of fence armor. He wanted every single post protected because of the damage he had the year before on the mile that he had of actually was city property on one side, and they were just coming through with their mowers and just destroying those posts. So it's a great way for you to augment your income because you're making money with fence armor. It's a great way for you to look better in front of your customer because you've now are providing a solution that for what most people thought, well, that's just the way it is. I got a fence, I have grass around it. That means, oh well. And now you're giving homeowners associations, you're getting all of these other people reasons to make their properties look good and stay looking the way they were from the day they installed that fence or post.
That's good. Do you mind if there's a couple of questions in the chat? Do you mind if I ask you those?
Yeah, please.
So the first one was, this was back asking about the that ornamental mailbox, the patriotic one. Mikey wanted to know if there were any other designs on that one coming up or out already.
On the, as far as the patriotic series, we're going to run the flag only and then the flag with the number. If a customer wants to run a custom image with his number, we can do that. So the answer is, if you give us an image that you want, we will put it on that for that particular size of post. So the answer is, we haven't signed up royalties with sports teams and the rest of the stuff. It's quite expensive, as you can imagine. But if you've got an image that is unique to your home, or that you like to have your logo or your company crest, we'd be happy to put that on there, because each one of those that we're doing with the numbers is a custom one anyway. So if you've got an image you want us to put on, we'll make that happen.
Very cool. And then, have you thought about making round ones for ornamental trees?
Well, that's interesting. Yes, we do.
Ta-da!
They're not so specific for ornamental trees. The issue with trees, of course, is you can't fasten into them. We don't want to get through that.
You can. It's just not a very good idea. Physically, you're able to.
Exactly. The ornamentals, or this series, the round series, is designed really for farm fencing or round cedar posts, and we have it in white, black, as you see here, and in galv. And the design, we have a YouTube video showing how this works. But what you would do is, do I have a screw here? I have a fastener here somewhere, but you put a screw in here, not all the way through, but you'd start it up here. Then you put the fence armor. You see the slot here? And it's kind of hard to see in the black, isn't it? Maybe the white one there, if you don't mind. Let's see if I get a white one here. Thanks, bud. So maybe in white it's a little bit easier to see. So we start our fastener in here, and then this slot runs in behind it. And now you can go from 5 inches right here all the way out to 6 3/4. So if you're not using perfect post, or you're using varied types of post, you're able to manage that, and they look beautiful. If you have a horse farm or you have an equestrian application, our round series is designed, and again, all American galvanized steel, 100% recyclable when you're done, and portable. Take it with you. So they look great.
That's very neat. Well, we had a couple technical difficulties, but other than that, the time just flew by. But before you leave, we were hoping to have some type of a giveaway. I was led to believe that there would be something. So why don't you, and you let me know if I'm wrong, but I think for pretty much all these giveaways, what we figured out is the easiest thing to do is you're going to tell us about it, and then you guys will have an email that anyone who's interested in entering that giveaway will send an email to. And then on the back end, you guys will go ahead and pick that, at some point at the start of the work week. And then Wednesday, I'm planning to do a follow-up video with all the winners of the giveaway so everyone can know. But that's still a good plan?
Yeah, that sounds like a great plan. I thought you could give away a live stream lunch with Stephanie.
Very popular item, I might add.
I thought that would be a good one. Anyway, if any of you happen to be visiting in the general area, we'll bring it down to Florida occasionally. And yes, we're giving away, I think you have pictures of our sunshades. Mm-hmm. They're designed for a pickup truck. I think I've got a picture of an F-150 there. And you've got the pictures, I think, on your side there.
Yeah, let me pull them up real quick. There you go.
There you go. It says, what does it say? Prettier fence posts live on the fence armor side of the fence. But they're premium. I couldn't find any made in the USA. Believe it or not, there are no sunshades made in the USA. So I had to go to an Australian company. And they're a premium grade product. I believe even this Australian company still buys out of China, believe it or not. But they look great. They retail for I think $24.95, and they fit, as you can see, perfectly across a windscreen of of a big truck. There's still plenty of room there to grow that on either side. So that's the giveaway that we're offering. And I think for any of those who are viewers here and want to come on board with Fence Armor, we'll be offering a special discount and promotion for them if they're going to buy in the next little while for their season. We'll be offering them special promotions. So reach out to Stephanie and myself, and we'll be happy.
So what is the email folks can send something to?
Steffi is typing it in right now. Stephanie.
Okay, and I'll go ahead and type it into the YouTube as well, the YouTube chat.
She may have a skill testing question for you. Like, what's
sure we were paying attention.
Heaven forbid we give something away without asking a skill testing question.
All right. Okay, so if you're interested in that, go ahead and email Stephanie@fencearmor.com. That's Stephanie@fencearmor.com. Stephanie@fencearmor.com. That's how the talk show radio people do when they're promoting something. They say it like 12 times.
And of course, if you want to follow us on all our social medias.
Yeah, so what do you guys have? YouTube, Instagram, Facebook?
Facebook. I believe we're on LinkedIn as well. Yeah, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Those are our main. We really are hardcore on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.
Not too much tweeting?
We tweet. We're on Twitter. He likes to call it, I think, Twitter or something, but we're on Twitter. But
one thing before we go, I just wanted to say that we are also quite engaged. My business partner, Luigi, is here too. I don't know if he wants to pop his head around the corner. He just flew in from Montreal. No. But we are engaged in the associations that we are.
Morning, guys.
That we are there with. We dedicate a lot of time and money in, for instance, last year we were at the Arlington Museum installing fence armor on the fence posts there with the North American Fence Association. We volunteered our time and product. We're also doing that with NASCAR today. We're actually driving down to North Carolina. NASCAR has a project with Victory Junction, 800 feet of fence. So the North American Fence Association and ourselves, who are part of it, will be donating our time and products to build the fence around the. These are disabled kids. So if there's projects that you guys have that need attention in the fence industry, that you need our product or you want some of our time and skills to complement, your own companies, we'd be happy to donate that to those organizations.
Very cool. And if you're a lawn care landscape guy and you've got any kind of questions or apprehensions about how you would present this product to your customers, well, I'm kind of putting Al out on a limb here, but I was going to say, I'm sure he wouldn't mind you reaching out to him. He's, for every kind of, well, I wouldn't think so because of this that I had, he had 2 or 3 different ways of, well, you can get around it by saying this, or a different way to think of this. So he's a really good source of information if you are interested in, expanding your business offerings to include this to your customers. So I hope you didn't mind me putting you out and saying they could contact you, but just, any kind of question I had, he had great answers for.
And the other thing is any kind of opportunity. So for instance, you asked about your backwater flow valve.
Mm-hmm.
If there are gutters or backwater flow valves or other things that come in contact with your trimmer or your lawn deck, there's nothing that we don't do in the custom area of things. If it's only 1 or 2, it's going to be a little expensive, but if you've got a couple of hundred, we can make all that stuff happen. And again, it gives you that extra level of credibility and in front of your customer.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being on. I really do appreciate it. You guys were some of the first to sign up for this, which I personally appreciate. But we enjoyed having you on, and we'll talk to you guys later, okay?
Thank you for the opportunity. We really
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.